Broadcasting from the Woodpeckers studio in the great state of New Hampshire, welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stomp.
All right, I'm hitting record. You ready, Kristina? All right, welcome. So, Stomp, this is episode 57. We've got a whole list of things you've been sending me that we have to cover before we get to the real show. Are you ready?
I'm
Kristina,
ready.
we may never get to you.
Ready and willing.
No, we will. So, Stomp, I have to put a plea out to the listeners.
For what?
I got a new toy that I need to set up in my father-in-law's house up in Maine. I got Starlink satellite.
Really?
Internet.
Wow, you took the plunge, huh?
I have it too.
I did, yeah. I'm in bed with Elon. So
what?
Yeah.
Kristina, do you live in more of a remote area, or?
I do. So actually, Rem and I kind of split our time between both places, and where I live, I haven't actually had internet for 15 years, so I've been... Yeah. I can Zoom, I can watch TV, I can email people. It's like a whole new world. I love Elon. He can...
Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
You give the endorsement. So the problem we have is that right now we have HughesNet, which is like the satellite internet, and it's basically like dial-up, and it's really not that great. But the problem is that we're surrounded by like 60-foot trees. So I think the only way for me to really get this dish up to a point where we can use it is to get it mounted on top of one of these like 60-foot trees. So I may be doing some tree climbing to get this thing going, but so I don't know.
So you know what? So, I found it to be really cost prohibitive. I mean, the monthly fee was pretty steep. Am I right?
It was $600
for installation
for the equipment.
Okay.
Well, for the equipment,
right.
And I'm not even done. And then I think it's like $110 a month or something like that. But for me, I have to look to see if you can pause the service. But if I can work up there, game changer. So it's well worth it for me.
Oh, sure.
And I'm already paying like $60, $70 a month for HughesNet. So
right.
It's only an extra $50 or something. So we'll see how it goes. But I have to work on mounting this thing, and I'm going to try to get it up above the tree line so that I can get it working really well.
Yeah.
So I'll keep everyone up to date. But if there's anybody that's like an expert tree person that is in the Freiburg, Maine area, and you listen to the show, hit me up if you're interested. I might have a gig for you.
Okay. Yeah, a few people come to mind actually right off the bat, but we can talk off the air.
Yeah. Kristina, where do you have your dish mounted?
Right on my roof.
Is it like just on your roof of your house?
Yeah, and it's like the service is absolutely phenomenal, which is way cool.
That's good.
Okay.
Good quality.
Awesome. All right.
Awesome.
So we'll keep everyone updated on that. But I'm excited because I'm actually thinking like if I can do the show from up north, that'd be perfect. So Stomp, the next thing I have here moving on is I wanted to give a shout out to our friend Arlette, who goes by Apple Pie as her thru hiker name. Right. So she has completed 10 of the 11 national scenic trails in the U.S. So she was doing that North Country trail that we talked about. Like she did it like in the dead of the winter, like the crazy trail that goes from Vermont up to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So she's the only person I think that will have completed all of these 11 scenic trails. So she only has one trail left, which is the Ice Age Trail. So Apple Pie, I know Rich listens, her husband. So I'll give her a huge shout out because it's an awesome accomplishment.
Yeah. How many miles? Like really lengthy mileage in total?
Well, I mean, the North Country Trail was 4,200 miles. I think the most recent one she did was like a short trail, but the Ice Age Trail, what she has left, I don't know. I think it's 800, 900 miles or something.
Wow. Yeah, she's a beast.
yeah, she's awesome.
That's incredible.
So I'll put all of her social media, and I don't know if she's selling, like I know that she sells like these really cool like hiking stuffed animals. So if she's selling any of those, I'll put a link in. But we got to get her on the show eventually.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yep. And then you have here, Stomp, Scott Benneroff has reached Springer Mountain. So this is the guy that did his southbound AT hike, and he started in the winter. I don't know when he started, like December or January.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I believe it was in December. Don't know the full details, but for the most part, he braved the whites in the winter, and I think he lucked out with a really pretty mild winter in some senses. So I've been chatting with him in the background, and I think at some point soon we'll have him in to tell the listeners about this epic adventure. So very cool. Congrats, Scott.
Yeah, well done. And I remember talking about it. So he did have, I think, a lot of the southbound stuff in the winter is really dependent on the weather. Like there's certain times where you can't get through, because I know that our Arlette and Rich tried to make it through.
Right.
But they had a heavy winter season, and they had to, I guess, pack it in. But Scott was able to plow through pretty quickly. So
yeah,
good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. The next thing I have here is the Red Jacket Inn. Is it an inn or is it a hotel?
Well, it's a hotel. More or less, but they label it an inn. It used to be. It used to be a hotel. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
A pile of ash, I suppose. Yeah. I've seen some.
Yeah, big fire in North Conway for anybody that's not paying attention. So this is the place where I think it's got the indoor water park, right?
Yes. Yeah, or it's next to that. Well, it has there's the outdoor one that's next door, but it's up that sloped hill. Right near the Mount Washington view vantage point there. But that was wild. I was home, and I look on Facebook, and somebody posted images, and it said 7 minutes ago. So it just like took off so quick, and there were some stunning videos that have been removed of people inside their rooms filming out on, looking at the ceiling ablaze. Like really crazy. What a crazy event. I have not heard what caused it. Has anybody heard?
They don't know. So this wing of the building was built in 1971, and unfortunately, I did read in the paper that they said that because the fire was so intense that when they got it under control, they had to do some additional demolition of the smoldering segments of the building that fell down, which is going to make it much more difficult for them to pinpoint the source of the fire. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But there was no sprinkler system. It wasn't, I think back then when it was built, it wasn't something that was in code. And my guess is that even though they have added on to the Red Jacket and put the water park in there, like they didn't have to get that section up to code.
I find that hard to believe.
I mean, it would have been probably ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, but it's state law. I mean, I'd like to do some more research about that and see what the scoop is. It's pretty interesting. I don't think you get a pass. I don't think you get grandfathered in, but I could be wrong.
Report back to us on what you uncover. But I think that I'm pretty sure that there's enough construction going on there that they would have had to come up to code if it was a law. But it's unfortunate. But these old hotels, it seems like they all burned down in the North Country, unfortunately.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Strange history.
Yep. And then speaking of North Country resorts, I've got an update here. The Balsams, which is that resort that is below Table Rock, way up north, is, I guess apparently they have secured funding to renovate the resort. So it's 400 rooms. It's going to be like a $200 million renovation, and they're going back and forth trying to get some funding for a road upgrade that will connect a golf course to the Balsams. But I was hoping that this place would get renovated because it's fallen apart.
I know,
which is sad.
It is sad. It's such a beautiful area. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and I had an awesome idea that they could build, if they do get the renovation done, that they could build a zip line from Table Rock to to the resort. Have you been up there, Kristina? Have you ever been up?
Yeah, a few times. I actually did a weird photo shoot in a wedding gown, but that was for some bridal magazine. It was wild.
Oh, you're gonna have to send us that photo. We'll use that for marketing on this. So, but you could see it. I could totally see a zip line going from there, right? It's like a perfect shot.
Would be insane.
Yeah. I got a feeling some people wouldn't like that, but anyway. So moving on to some positive news. Stomp, you put a note in here about the double murder that happened down in Concord.
Well, I don't know if
you said that there was some
necessarily positive, but
I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the article's interesting. I think the authorities are trying to canvass the neighborhood and the region by reaching out to the people that live there and trying to acquire video, home footage, CTV type of footage, home video, to see if they can't locate any information that might lead to the suspect or suspects. So that's pretty interesting. So they're still looking for information.
Yeah, it's a crazy case, and hopefully they'll figure out what happened. Scary to go out for a walk in the woods like that, and then.
Yeah, and that ties into this next thing that you mentioned here, huh? A serial killer in New Hampshire?
Yeah, and before you put in the update on the double murder, so we're usually not this depressing, Kristina, I promise, but
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
you're like, what have I gotten myself into here?
I know, no kidding.
But so I had to laugh, Stomp, because whenever these things happen, like, I'm assuming this is an isolated incident, what happened in Concord, but there was this video that was sent to me. It was sent to me by a couple of people, and they're like, there's a serial killer in New Hampshire. So I listened to and it's a nice lady. She's got a podcast, and she's basically saying that all these people that end up dead around the Merrimack River, from all the way the Merrimack Valley in Massachusetts all the way up to, Bow, New Hampshire, they're trying to, what they try to do in these videos is say that there's a serial killer, and then they take every single situation where a body is found in a river or a murder happened, and then they say, like, they're not completely connected, but they could be connected. And I start looking at the list, and it's like one of them was the lady that fell in Ossipee that was walking her dog. Yeah. Another one was an incident in Amesbury that I know was not, was a purposeful jump into the Merrimack. So there's all these things to sort of discount the idea that there's a serial killer. But I continue to hear people saying that there's a serial killer because all these people are falling into the water. And the reality is that people end up in rivers and bodies of water, and for various different reasons. And it doesn't mean that there's a serial killer in New Hampshire. So everybody just calm down.
I know. Is the media hyping this up? Is the media running with this?
I don't think the media is. I think what's going on is that there's a population of true crime people. And I'm a junkie. Like, I love the true crime stuff, but I also, with this podcast, like, I'm always very, very hesitant to sort of I think that a lot of the true crime people try to insert themselves into the story, and I've seen it with Maura Murray and all this other stuff. There's just a crazy group of people that tend to be attracted to this stuff. Yeah. And, they're trying to put two and two together to get four, but the reality is that they just stretch this stuff, and it's just, it's an unfortunate incident what happened in Concord, but that doesn't mean that there's a serial killer walking around New Hampshire.
Right.
Famous last words, right?
Yeah. We're becoming like the Morbid podcast. You guys know about Morbid? I think they're the number one podcast out there next to Rogan, I think, or somebody, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, moving on to a plug here. So New Hampshire Fish and Game is hiring. Oh. So they're looking for a conservation officer. So I just wanted to read the qualification Stomp to see if you might be a fit.
I don't think old guys make it anymore. That they're not qualified. Older than dirt
Is there an
guys.
Age limit?
I don't know. You tell me.
It won't pull up for me, so I think we'll just have to, we'll have to see if it pulls up. But essentially, what you need to do is you have to go through Police Officer Academy.
Yeah,
and it had a bunch of qualifications on here. I don't know why it's not pulling up. I'm wondering maybe if it is. It's a PDF, and I'm also wondering if it got taken down. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, possible. Anyway, I know it's pretty stringent.
Anyway.
I mean, the athletic side of it, I think I could probably crush, but I don't know. There's a lot of layers to it.
I know that there's a written exam in early June that you have to take, and I think that's in Concord.
Yeah.
And then exactly once you pass that written exam, then you need to do a physical, which I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But and then after that, I'm assuming that you have to go through an interview or something, and then they'll make a decision on whether they'll hire you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the ship has passed on that one for me. But had I known when I was a younger man, I think I would have. But I was honestly very ignorant about the state. I mean, I was up here all the time hiking, but I didn't know that there was all this stuff going on. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty
so
neat.
I'll post this in the show notes, and assuming that the link actually still works.
Okay.
So the next two here, Stomp, you can cover because you put these in.
Well, yes. Andy Cannon sent an article over to us, and we will just briefly mention it here. We'll stick it in the show notes, and it's regarding hiking poles. And it's an older article, but the bent of the article is somewhat pro hiking poles for the obvious reasons, like unloading joints, burning more calories, whatever it may be. But they also link to some other studies that say just the opposite, in terms of, it's going to hurt your balance and your coordination and things like that. So check it out, see what you think, and just a little bit more information for you to check out and come to a decision about those damn poles. Kristina, when you hike, do you use poles? You don't.
I used to. I don't anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think that's.
I'm clumsy.
Yeah. I don't think the trail running community ever considers using poles, do they? Sometimes.
Actually, they
sometimes
do. They're fairly. Yeah, in Europe, they're really popular.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm just too clumsy. I try to use them and then I break them.
Yeah. They do break quite a bit. I've seen some hefty poles out there for like $200 too. Like, are you kidding me? What are they, titanium? I mean, gosh. Too funny. Hey, I got this article. I found this article you might find funny. Moving on to something completely different. There's another report coming out of Connecticut of a bear breaking into a car. And I know this is completely random here, but we have talked about bears in the past, and there's one that floats around here in Thornton opening car doors and stuff like that. It totaled this car down in Connecticut. But what I found really interesting about this story are the statistics that they mention here. There's something to the effect of several thousand reports of bear encounters in Connecticut, and I think there's like 1,200 bear that are have been identified in the state. I mean, that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
That's a lot.
That's a lot, absolutely, for a southern New England state. I find that number to be staggering. Like, what are the numbers up here? I wonder. I don't know.
I definitely remember us doing a story of somebody that was hiking and they like bumped into a bear on trail. So they weren't a trail runner, but they were hiking and they turned a corner and bumped into a bear, and then was a whole incident. So I think Connecticut probably has, I don't know, per capita, I don't know what their bear population is, but my guess is that they don't have as much area. So the bears are probably like confined to a tighter location. So there's more incidents.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
I feel like there's a lot of bird houses in Connecticut too. I feel like that's like everybody that they all are on like 2-acre properties with a bunch of bird houses too, right? I think that's probably part of it.
That's possible. That's possible.
Yeah, okay. All right, Stomp. So now one thing you had asked me to remind you is Mrs. Stomp had a critique about the last episode.
Yeah, just out of the blue. I mean, everybody's getting on the critique wagon here, so she felt a little amiss and wanted to join in on all the bashing of us. So she said, here's her critique about the last episode. The Bone Crusher ale that I was drinking last week, this is I don't tell me if this is a weak critique or not. I don't know. This is sort of stretching it, but she goes, Bone Crusher is a brown ale, not a lager. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not a critique. So anyway, I did some research about it, and she was absolutely right. Like, touche. So this is like Steve Rodriguez territory from Rek-lis. An ale is brewed with top fermenting yeast, while lagers are brewed with bottom fermenting yeast. So there is a difference, I guess, and I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but touche. So we love our feedback.
2 comments about this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 2 comments. One is, compared to my wife, like my wife goes right at us and directly critiques like us. So this is a good one.
Yeah.
And 2, I'm impressed that Mrs. Stomp knows so much about beer. So.
Yes. Well, she is a former bartender, so
that's true.
She knows her
So
stuff.
she makes a mean Mai Tai.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So the next one here, and this is the last one that we have, is I picked this up earlier today. I'm staying off of social media, but I did cheat today. I was on a little bit over lunch, but I picked this up on somebody had forwarded this over. I thought this was interesting. So this is a gear update. So Big Agnes,
yep.
They make tents and stuff. I've never had any of their gear, but I do know that for freestanding tents, so not the kind with the that you have to do the trekking poles, but basically Big Agnes has these I think it's copper spur. They're known for having the best ultralight freestanding tents on the market. So they have moved into the ultralight backpack space, which I thought was interesting.
Huh.
So they've got 2 day packs. So like a 20 liter and a 32 liter pack. And then they've got a 50 and a 65 liter backpack. And then I think there was some other ones there, but I think they have women specific backpacks as well. So I was looking through, they seem like they're in line they're a little bit heavier. So I think the 50 liter was like a little over 3 pounds, which is a little heavier than what you'll get with like Osprey's Exos pack, or Gregory, I think, has like a 2.5 pound pack.
Yeah.
But they're a little lighter than like a Deuter backpack that you get. So they're kind of like right in the mix of all those, but they're not in the same space as like the Hyperlight with the 2 pound 50 liter backpacks, but they look pretty sharp, and they do seem to, the thing that differentiated them to me was that they have a pretty big outside storage pocket.
Yeah.
And then they have this sort of interesting setup where in the back it's like fully unzips so that you don't have to go through the top. You can lay it down like a duffel bag and unzip it. So
Interesting. Ultralight. That's an interesting concept.
I mean, everybody markets themselves as ultralight gear.
Sure.
So it's just a marketing thing, but
right.
But I'll put the links in the show notes in case somebody wants to check it out. But I thought that was interesting that they're getting into a very crowded backpack market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So,
all right.
That's it. So sponsors and Coffee Talk Stomp.
Yeah, let's see. Sarah, without an H, donated 3. Shandy donated 3. And Jen donated 1. Mountain Princess 207 donated 5 coffees. Like, wow, super generous.
A princess donated?
Mountain Princess. So I don't know. I'm not sure what mountain she domiciles at, but she's a mountain princess. 207. Mountain Princess 207. And then we have what is Jack Daly's official title in Civil Air Patrol right now? Do we know?
I don't know.
Okay. We have to get them back in to have an update, because Jack has gone through the program, and I think it'd be really interesting to see what's been going on in his life and what's been going on with Cap. I think that'd be really cool. So Jack, thank you very much, and we'll be talking to you soon. Okay, brother? And of course, a special thank you to at Rek-lis Brewing, where you'll enjoy the best food, craft beer, and fun just 15 minutes from Franconia Notch, many 4K footers, and less than 10 minutes from the 5 corners. Awesome.
Excellent. All right. So show opener here. So welcome to episode 57 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. If you are a running geek, this is the show for you. So I'm a running geek, so I'm excited. Tonight we are joined by the owner of Rockhopper Races, Kristina. Is it Folcik? Folcik. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kristina has been instrumental in bringing some of the best mountain race events into the White Mountains in recent years. So we're looking forward to her sharing stories of how Rockhopper has grown over the years, and we're going to learn more about her background and highlight some of the upcoming events that Rockhopper is managing. Later in the show, we'll cover some recent search and rescue news, and then I think we've got some other stuff planned, Stomp, but we'll see how it goes with time. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp. Let's get started.
All right. What are you drinking, Stomp? Anything good?
Well, we're recording on Cinco de Mayo, so I'm having a pomegranate and something or other margarita. It's a little different, huh? You guys forgot it was Cinco de Mayo, didn't you?
I did not, but I'm drinking a water, so.
You are all right. So you're keeping it healthy. I'm drinking something called Exhibit A, Wandering Thoughts, and it is a double dry hop New England IPA. So it's a double dry hop New England double IPA. So it's not my favorite, I'll be honest with you. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a bit of a miss, but
don't have to convince me.
Sorry, Exhibit A.
It's an IPA.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So any recent hikes, Stomp?
I've been so darn busy, but Mrs. Stomp and I made it out to Scour again. I think it was Sunday, and it was super cozy, warm, and tank top weather, and we were just soaking up the sun up there for a couple hours, and it was just awesome. But I'm doing some recon on getting out to the Captain again. I've been briefly talking to Teal Goat and finding out the status of Sawyer Road. I don't think that's opening.
It's open.
I heard that
it's open as of today.
Are you sure about that? Because I heard it may not open at all.
No, I saw on social media. It's got to be true.
Yeah, it's got to be. Okay, because
it's all true on social media.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm pretty sure because it was like multiple people chiming in saying that the gate was open.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'm captain bound as soon as possible. So, if you're ready for a grueling bushwhack, Mike, you let me know.
Yeah, I'll go. Let me know when it goes. But right. I haven't been out since I went on Adams, but I am going tomorrow morning. I'm heading up to. I'm going to test out the Starlink. I'm going to just see if I can get it connected even through the trees. But then we are before we go up to my in-laws' place, we're going to stop at my daughter's home from college. So I'm going to take her. We were talking about doing a 4,000 footer, but we decided that we want to stay a little bit lower. We don't want to deal with like the monorail or ice or stuff like that. So we're going to go to Kearsarge North.
Okay.
So I think it'll be a little icy up top, but I think otherwise it'll be pretty dry.
Okay, you can tell your daughter that I've been making an effort to put more mountain imagery on the Insta page, and they're just random mountain pictures, and at the bottom I put #random mountain.
Yes. Exactly.
I'm trying over here.
I'll make her take some photos, and we'll put one up tomorrow when we do the hike. But she's back from college, so she wants to knock off a few 4,000 footers over the summer. But
yeah.
Tomorrow we're gonna go to Kearsarge North. It's nice, and she'll like it. She's never been there, so I'll show her the fire tower, and it should be good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Have you been out hiking at all, Kristina, lately?
Yeah, I was actually up on Chikura the other day. Almost snow-free. Not quite yet.
Really?
Nice.
So that's, through 3,300 feet?
About that, yeah.
Any ice?
A little bit. But you didn't need microspikes. It was all pretty avoidable.
Cool. That's good. I'm ready for summer.
Me too. It was a cold winter.
Yeah.
Did you go the route that the Rockhopper race takes you and torture everybody?
Part of that way. So we went up and down Liberty. We were beat because we hosted White Lake and we were up for like 30 hours and we decided we'd hike instead of sleep. It was kind of a blur.
Wow. That's hardcore. Well, we're going to talk a lot about Chikura in a minute, but before we do that, Stomp, you have this, what is your dumb idea? You got a new idea here?
Yeah, a new segment.
No, it's a good idea, actually.
A new segment. Well, I don't know if this is the name of it, but basically I tagged it as Notable Listener Hike of the Week. So, I mean, if listeners want to tag us in a post do so. And if we get a bunch of them, we'll just pick out a random hike that's super notable. And, Steve Rodriguez did not tag us this time, but it spurred on the idea. And because he just bagged North Percy Peak 6 days ago, I think. So that's pretty epic because, that's pretty far north and there's still quite a bit of snow and wet ledges up there on that beautiful peak. So Steve is the first official notable listener hike of the week winner. Good job, Steve. Impressive stuff.
Do you know, did he say, I was going to ask him, but I didn't get to, but did he say, was the gate shut for Nash Stream Road, or was he able to drive it?
He didn't say. He didn't specify. It's a good question. Obviously it's walkable. I don't think there's any snow on the ground there. I think they use it as a snowmobile path in the winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, good question.
I mean, it's 2 miles from the gate, so it's not horrible. It's 4 miles extra. But I think if you have not hiked the Percy, so there's North Percy and South Percy. If you have not hiked those, and it's a little farther north, but the Nash Stream Forest, that whole area there, put that on your list of places to go this summer because it is amazing.
It really is.
I've been there like late fall, so I don't know what the bugs are like. I'm assuming they're probably not great there, but it's a completely bald peak. Is it bald because there was a fire there, Stomp, or is it just that's the way it is?
I don't know. That might have to be a history segment.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it's there's two peaks right next to each other. South Peak is a little bit more wooded, great views heading south into look down into the Kilkennys and the Presidentials, and then the North Peak is completely bare. And then when you get up top, you can see like the Mahoosics and Grafton Notch, and that whole area there, I think, is where the views head out to the north and to the east. So it's a really cool area.
Yeah,
and it doesn't get much traffic at all this time of the year. So Steve must have been the only person there with his dog.
Mm-hmm. Cute dog too.
Yep. All right. So anything else, Stomp, before we move to segment one?
No, let's get rolling. People don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from Kristina.
It's time for SLASR's Guest of the Week. Very cool. Very cool.
All right, Kristina, this is your moment. You ready?
Oh my God, the moment I've always been waiting for.
Yes. Have you done a podcast before?
A couple.
Oh man,
okay, so
we're not the first.
I know. You didn't pop my cherry. I'm sorry.
I thought we were special, but okay. So Kristina, I was just going to sort of give you my experience interacting with Rockhopper and then transition into doing a little bit of a deep dive about your background and about the races and the events and everything. But I've been a runner my whole life, and I've been doing the Mount Washington Road Race. That's actually how me and Stomp met each other, like probably 15 years ago, coordinating rides and whatnot. But a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018, I didn't get into the Mount Washington lottery. You go through these streaks where you'll get in like 2-3 years in a row, and then you don't get in for like 2-3 years. So I was on the bad end of a streak, and I was depressed because I was like, I really like doing the Mount Washington. And then I think it was my sister-in-law, Marissa, or maybe somebody else who's like, hey, there's this other race that you can do on Mount Chikura. So I was like, all right, I'll sign up for this thing. And I showed up, and it's pretty close to where we're up in Freiburg, so it wasn't too bad. I drove down, probably 35 minutes or so to get down there, and then pulled into this like big area, private house that had a big lot, and there's probably like Dave Dillon was there, Stomp.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him. Probably 300-400 people, maybe probably even more than that, and the event was like the music was going on. It was a great crowd. It was like, one of those, first time I've done a few mountain races, but it was the first sort of race that I had done that had like a really good vibe. Everywhere else was like just in a parking lot and you just run off. So, but I do remember, I don't know if it was you or your co-owner that sort of did the announcement around like, you could feel sort of the excitement, but also the pressure, because I think was it the first race that you guys had done in the White Mountains?
Yeah, it was actually the first race, and there was a lot of road running that year. So the course is a million times harder now.
Yeah.
But it was scary to host the race for the first time.
Yeah, and I remember like everybody, like I remember talking to a bunch of people, and we were like, we're not even going to let like a piece of paper drop on the ground because we were like so afraid the Forest Service was going to like say forget it. So, but yeah, there was an awesome inspirational talk in the beginning, and then we went off, and there was a lot of road racing. And the problem with the road part was because it was flat. Like I was ripping on the roads, and I got to the hills, and I completely just I went and I redlined on the roads, and then I got to the hills, and I was in trouble. So plus it was super hot that day. So But that's how I got to know Rockhopper, and then I know you did the Kilkenny Ridge race and a bunch of other races, but I've always sort of paid attention to what you guys are doing. I know COVID was probably a challenge for you for the last year or two, but excited to have you on. So with that intro, would you just want to sort of introduce yourself, give a little bit of your background about running, outdoor sports, and how you ended up in New Hampshire?
Yeah, so I did not grow up very athletic. And I'm from Connecticut originally, so my hobbies were sitting on the couch and eating donuts. And then kind of progressed to one day I started mountain biking, took it as far as racing at the professional level, doing downhill mountain bike races. Had some really bad injuries, finally had to walk away from that sport. But at that point, I loved the outdoor world. Got into high altitude mountaineering, racing dirt bikes, rock climbing, ice climbing, just all sorts of different things, and started actually trail running. It was a dare. So somebody dared me to run 16 miles. I'd never really run before. It was like the most hellish 16 miles of my life, but most of it was walking, finished. And 2 years later, did what I called a stupid human feat. I ran the Vermont 50 without training, somehow finished before the cutoff, and, realized I kind of had a knack for running, but didn't realize what that knack was until I later decided to just leave Connecticut, make a life change, come to the mountains so that I could be here all the time. I used to come up Friday night and then drive home Monday morning at 3 a.m. so I could be at work, and that was stupid. So kind of relocated up here and found out that I was a decent runner.
So you didn't leave Connecticut because of the bear infestation?
Oh my gosh, no, there were no bears back then.
That's crazy. And then, so you settled in here. How did you end up starting Rockhopper? What's the story behind that?
So I've been race directing. When I lived in southern New Hampshire, the Bear Brook Trail Marathon was the very first race, and hosted a really cool summer cross-country series, and then moved up to Tamworth in 2014, and it was just too much. I took on a new job. I just bought a house and didn't think that I would get back to race directing. And then all of a sudden, one day, it just happened, and started getting permits. And there's a lot involved in maintaining permits, which is why I have to be so strict and kind of a hard ass at the races. But you have to promote safety, leave no trace principles, and really be good stewards of the land. Yeah. So it was, that first year was they were watching us like hawks, and we had to really show them that trail runners aren't these dirtbag douches throwing garbage all over the trail. Because that's what we were thought to be, was you throw garbage, you ruin the trail, you poop on the trail, and we had to show them that that's not who we are. And that was 2018. Definitely a huge hit from COVID. There were no races in 2020. 2021 started back up again, and totally revamped Rockhopper, and it's actually way cooler than it's ever been. Super fun events.
That's awesome.
And then the just as a race director, my job, I'm a program manager. I have to organize things, and I'm very operational. So I spend a lot of time with spreadsheets and very sort of focused on step by step getting projects done. And I'm assuming, I've never done race directing, but I would assume that logistics and organization that has to be your area of expertise, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, it is, the behind the scenes work is absolutely incredible. It's an entire year of planning, prepping, permits, insurance. There's working with private landowners if need be, making sure we have enough. I like the party atmosphere. So like with COVID, getting swag on time is like absolute hell. I wish all the races sold out like Chikura. So it's easy. I can just like order the swag before the deadline. But that we used to have like a 3-week turnaround, and now you're looking at 2 to 3 months. And I think that's been the biggest challenge of race directing, is to be able to give people a lot of things. I have to order stuff very far in advance.
Wow.
Got it. In as far as like coming up with the ideas of where the courses are going to be, who comes up with your course design and your ideas for that?
So my partner Rem, he and I sit there and we just like scour maps, and we're like, and I mean, we're in the whites all the time, playing and running, and we're just like digging through how much elevation can we put into a course, like what's the fewest amount of miles with the most amount of elevation. And we just keep tweaking. And of course, the process of getting a permit for a new race is insane. But the Jigger Johnson race this year has been quite the process and pretty cool. That one's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of things that are off limits with holding events in the Forest Service, and maybe someday those things will change. I'm not sure if they will. I'm hoping they do, because it would open a lot more doors. But it's kind of like, it's just fun. It's like creating this masterpiece, and how much can we make the runner suffer, and then how much fun can we have after the race and during the race.
Yeah. And do you have is there certain rules that the Forest Service has around, do they factor in okay, if you're going to have a race that's X amount of miles, you can only have X amount of runners before you start doing staggered starts and things like that? How do they figure the capacity on the trail that they'll allow?
They just cap it. Right now, 250 runners is it. I don't see that ever increasing. Yeah. And again, the White Mountains are crowded. And how are we trying to reduce impact? We're trying to reduce the impact by timing the race so that the majority of the runners are either off of the busy parts of the hike before all the hikers come up there. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of planning and going back and forth with meetings and multiple conversations with people in the Forest Service, or if we're working with the state or private landowners. Yeah,
I was going to mention that actually it's multi-layered with state land, Franconia and whatnot, or town. Yeah, it's very complicated.
Yeah, a lot of permits.
Yeah. Wow.
And with, obviously, you always want to be as inclusive as you can be, but with these mountain races, it's not necessarily, it's not like a street course where you can afford to have somebody out there for 6 or 7 hours and you can have volunteers. I would assume that you need to, in some ways, compress that time down, so you do have to limit sort of the expectation. I would think the smaller races, that's easier to do, but you can't have somebody on Chikura for 7 or 8 hours running a course. Or maybe you can, I don't know. But
no, we do. Chikura, we ask that you have run a 50K, and I mean, people, they lie to us, but I think last year was a huge eye-opener. We had more people that refused to take water at the aid station because it was only 9 miles to get back to the finish line. And people were barfing everywhere, collapsing. I mean, it was the most epic. I mean, we were triaging people, and there were probably at least 80 people that we had to cool down and stabilize. It was absolutely insane. And some people take 8 hours to finish, so they do technically have 8 hours to finish this race. But, I try to really encourage people to be aware that this is a mountain race. And I think some people don't realize how difficult the courses are. Now, Kilkenny, I have a lot of people who, I've run a 3-hour marathon, or, I've done a triathlon, I've done an Ironman. And the challenge with that race is you can't drop. You have to go 25 miles, and if you have to drop, you're sitting in an aid station for potentially almost a day. So depending on the course and where the bailout points are, that really determines how we're vetting the runners. And with Jigger being one of the hardest races, if not the hardest 100K in the country, we have to be really careful with our vetting process. And the Forest Service wants us to do that as well.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But the other thing too is going back to that 3-hour marathoner. Like, and again, I've been running since high school. I took a little bit of time off, but I've been running pretty much straight for 20 years, at least 20, 30 miles a week. And the thing that even people that are road runners don't understand is when you're running elevation, like I've seen so many people that like they get on these hills and they think that they can do these big long strides, and they don't understand about sort of like shortening your stride and increasing your cadence when you're going uphill. They don't know how to find their gear going uphill, and they just burn out. So it is something that, you know, if you are somebody that hasn't done trail running and you're a runner and you're interested in doing it, like you do need to get out there and really experience elevation, because if not, you'll end up, you know, Rockhopper will end up cleaning you guys off the trail.
Yeah, and it's, you know, our races, except for White Lake, it's not even just trail running, it's mountain running. So, you know, and there's a huge difference between trail running and mountain running, which I didn't realize until I started running the mountains. And it's a totally different style of training and a different way of moving.
Yeah, it is. And were you competitive when you were started off running? Did you do a lot of competitive ultra races yourself? Yeah,
so I actually took it to the elite level. I was sponsored by La Sportiva for quite some time, and as ridiculous as this sounds, I had a lot of emotional trauma and PTSD from racing at that level, and took a step back. I did a race last fall, which was incredible. My head was in a really good place, but it's really dumb, but I want people to like me for who I am as a person, not because I can run fast. And it might not bother most people, but that really bothered me because I didn't know who liked me for me, and I didn't know who liked me just because I was fast. So it definitely is, for me, far more rewarding to be on the other end in race directing, because what I want to celebrate is everybody. I want to celebrate the very first person, but I want to celebrate them in the same way that we celebrate the very last person. So I don't ever want the races to become something that is totally biased towards the faster runners and biased towards the slower runners. Ram and I really focus on trying to make sure that everybody has the same experience no matter where they finish.
Yeah, and I think you've set up that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, because I want to break down each race. But with the Race the Cog event, that sounds like you found the perfect balance for that with that particular race, which is good. And it's interesting. I guess I'd be curious about your opinion. So I'm doing a half marathon on Saturday. First time I've done a half marathon in about 2.5 years. Yeah. My last race, I finished second in my age group. So I've always been sort of like competitive in my age group, but like sort of not finishing in the top 5 or 10 people, but like usually, you know, in the sort of the top half of it. But I have since, like, I turned 50, I've slowed down quite a bit, and I just don't have the motivation to go out there and like run fast because I'm afraid I'm going to get injured. So I'm doing a transition where I'm sort of just getting to the point where I'm now a middle of the pack person, where before I could sort of at least have a little bit of an ego boost where I would be sort of towards the beginning. Although that ego boost got knocked out when I did these mountain races, because I was definitely middle of the pack for those. But do you have any thoughts on, you know, as people get older with running, the transition and the change? Like, how do you keep motivated?
You move your way back through the mullet. I mean, a race is like a mullet. It's like all business in the front and it's a party in the back, and we all know who's having more fun. Okay. So, you know, you take that gracefully and you adjust your goals, and it's okay to be competitive with yourself, but maybe it's time to start being a little more playful with your races and make it like this wicked fun day on the trail instead of stressing yourself out and focusing on, you know, really huge goals. Not saying that being competitive isn't okay, because it is, and it's fun, and, you know, it's normal to want to, it's a race, you're racing people, but there's also a personal challenge. And I don't really see aging as a huge issue. You're just more experienced at life. Most of our race winners are in their 40s and almost 50. It's amazing. And if you look at a lot of the women out there running, women in their 40s and 50s are kicking ass right now. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily age, or you've just been doing it too long and you're losing a little bit of that motivation. And You just need to take it back a notch to make it more playful.
Yeah.
And
I got to get a costume. That's what I need. A pink tutu.
It's all about the costume, ripping fireball. I mean,
exactly. So that's the other thing that's interesting about the ultra running, and not even just the marathon, but the ultra running. Like, you're so right about that. Like, I noticed that the distance is like an equalizer when it comes to the age factor. I think the shorter distances, like age, definitely factors in, but with true endurance, when it sort of comes down to grit, it seems like you said, these 40-something people they're remaining competitive, which is interesting.
It's wild, and you have to adapt your training for aging. So there's definitely a lot of, and we can spend like a whole day talking about this, but there's a lot of science behind how you train as you age so that you can maintain your level of fitness and stay fast. And there's an emotional piece to it too. There's a lot involved in training.
Absolutely.
We'll see. Maybe I'll get a little spunk in my my race on Saturday. I'll let you know how I do. But the good thing is I'm going into it and I'm like, I don't have any expectations. I am going to just sort of stick with some of my friends and start off and see how it goes. So anyway.
Bring a couple of fireball shots, I'm just saying.
Really? Okay.
Hey, I won a race back in December. I had 5 fireball shots.
Really?
I'm just saying.
Epic.
Okay.
During the race or after? Or
During.
holy shit. That is carpe diem. Wow.
But the funny thing is, I don't drink. I just do shots of fireball sometimes when I'm running.
You just rev up your brain.
But I don't drink otherwise.
Yeah. That's epic.
Awesome.
Actually, we used to do that in boxing. Like, we'd get a shot of vodka and stuff because boxing was so intense. Yeah, I get it. It's a jolt. It's a super jolt. Anyhow.
It is.
It is so funny.
Great. All right. So, a couple of other things, and then I want to get into a little bit of a deep dive on each of your races. And this Jigger Johnson thing is going to be more of a deep dive. We're gonna get into that. But the COVID impact. So were you sort of kidding yourself at a certain point to say, like, okay, we're going to get back, or did you know pretty quickly that this was you're going to have to pack it in for a year or two because of COVID?
Oh, I knew it was going to be so bad. I actually bought a home gym before the gyms closed, and it was honestly the business. I had to defer a lot of runners. A lot of the race expenses came out of my personal income last year, so this year is kind of like breaking even year. So it hit Rockhopper really hard, and if I weren't so motivated and didn't love it so much, I probably would have thrown in the towel.
Is this your full-time gig?
It will be as of May 26th. I'm retiring from dental hygiene and taking a leap of faith on this because we're branching out into 3 different entities. But
wow, good for you.
It will be
excellent. Best of luck. Yeah. I'm sure it'll work out.
Thank you. I need luck.
Everybody sign up for the races here for sure. All right, so I guess from here, I want to, before we go into the deep dive on the races, can you talk a little bit about, and you touched on this a little bit, but sort of your philosophy around entertainment, food, the race timing, the photos, volunteers. Can you talk a little bit about how you manage all that?
Yeah, so when I was racing around the country, some of the things I really enjoyed about the races out west was they had kick-ass photos. They had an after party where the first people hung out like all day so that the last people weren't standing there with crickets. The vibe was amazing, and ultimately what they had was this like community. And I'm like, why don't we have this on the East Coast? Well, you're paying $25 for a race on the East Coast. You're paying $300-400 to go do a race out on the West Coast. And why is it so expensive? Well, you're hiring people to come in. So I pay for a photographer, I pay for food trucks, DJ at some races, bring in vendors, swag, tons of swag, finishers awards. So, my 2 choices are to spend a lot of money and charge more for a race so that people have an experience, or just keep it like super grassrooty. And because I love the party atmosphere, I prefer to keep the races pricier because you're getting a lot while you're there. And there's also, I mean, even though we're really silly and playful, there's a lot of seriousness behind it. And there's a lot of safety that goes into our races, watching the runners and dealing with medical emergencies, and ultimately trying to prevent the need for search and rescue to come out, especially during one of our mountain races. So, you know, it's a lot of fun, but we're literally sweating bullets until that last runner crosses the finish line.
Yeah, I bet. Interesting.
And I have to say, like, I know the photographer that did the photos in 2018 did a fantastic job. And then the other thing that stands out is I'm pretty sure you guys had an ice cream truck when we were there in 2018. Was it an ice cream truck? Or some, which was awesome.
Yeah, we had an ice cream truck, and now we have, it's actually pretty cool, Tin Can. I don't know if you've seen them in the Valley. So they do, they've got all sorts of stuff. So they just had like more of the vegan, gluten-free type food options for runners, which is a huge thing these days. And they have more offerings to be vegan friendly, you know, gluten-free, and all of the diets that people are doing these days.
Awesome. Yeah, it was good. So I've done a lot of races, and I would say, you know, the atmosphere at your races was amazing. So I would highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Cool.
So I think I wanted to get into a deep dive on all of the races that you have on your event schedule here. So we talked about Chikura, so we might as well start there. I think my recollection of Chikura was, again, there was like an opening road race, but then you go up the backside of I forget the names of the trails now. I had it.
You went up the Liberty. Well, you went up Brook.
Yes.
Yeah, and then to the summit, and then down Hammond.
Yeah, exactly. And like Brook was brutal. I was not expecting that at all. Like it's
nobody does.
Yeah, and the day that I ran it, it was. I mean, I guess relatively speaking, if you asked anybody normal, they would say, yeah, it wasn't that bad. But it was in the 70s, and even it didn't get that cool in the summit. So
yeah,
I didn't bring salt tablets or anything with me, and I was cramping up like halfway up, and I was like, I'm going to be in big trouble. If I lock up, I'm going to be screwed. So I had to dial it way back. That was when Dave Dillon passed me stomping. But I don't know how different the trail or the course is now. Has it changed a lot, you said?
It has. And I mean, actually Rockhopper itself has, it's a completely different, we're still like silly, goofy, serious, but I've taken business classes and totally revamped Rockhopper, and my partner Ram has really helped me mold the business. So we're changing a lot of things for the better, and including the course at Chikura, which now it's really, really hard. So you climb right off the bat, you go up Hammond, you come down Liberty, you go up Brook, take the bad weather loop, scoop around to the summit, and then you come all the way down Hammond. So it has, I believe it's 4,500 feet, 5,000 feet of climbing, has significantly more climbing than you had, because all you had to do was go up the mountain once. Now you go 3/4 of the way up the mountain, you lose all your elevation, come to the bottom, and then you go back up and over the summit.
Oh, you're so mean. So the business school that you went to was basically like torture your customers. Yeah. That's the best way to
torture people, yes.
Because I'm looking at my Strava right now, 3,500 feet of elevation. So now it's like, what, 5,000?
Close to it, yeah. It's a lot more.
Crazy. So,
and the after party has grown. So like the other thing is, you know, we were so small back then, and it's really been cool because now we have more at the finish line, and it's just a lot more excitement, like, you know, more people, more vendors, like cool things going on, and constantly trying to find new ways to make it fun. Gonna have DJ Chikura this year. Ooh. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna make the announcement.
Yeah,
here. So if the listener, Stomp is gonna be spinning. So I've got my list. So I definitely want to hear like Celebration by Kool and the Gang. Please. I want to make sure that I hear some Bob Seger, like anything that you'll find at a cheesy wedding, you better play. But anyway, Stomp's going to be doing the DJ work at.
Can we do the Macarena?
I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. Honestly, you send me your list and I'll make sure I play them. You might have to hear the podcast intro music once or twice, but that's okay. No, I'm glad to help out. It's like, hey, easy. I've got the PA and everything else, and been doing this for a while, so it'll be fun. And it's like perfect music for such an upbeat crowd. It's just high energy, upbeat crowd. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
And that's on June 4th. Is there still spots for the Chikura race?
There's 4 spots, and then the wait list opens up.
Got it. So it's almost sold out. So I gotta make a call if I'm to do this.
Don't call me.
We'll see how it goes. I may be handing you record stomping.
Yeah, you can carry all my gear. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's 250 runners, and then how many volunteers do you usually have that are out on the course for Chikura?
Oh God, that was a lot. So I just flood the summit cone with people because God forbid there's an emergency. We need to be on it like a fly on shit, managing or whatever happens. And this year there are a couple guys that are wicked excited and pumped. They're going to bring water up to the Jim Liberty cabin. So hopefully they do keep their word and do that, which will be really nice to have there for the people that run out of water, because it was 86 degrees, I believe, last year, and it was really hot. So tough mountain to get water up high, and there's only one aid station. Mm-hmm. So, hoping that happens. And then we have a handful of volunteers at the bottom, which last year we just triaged people who were in a really bad way. They'd be 3 at a time on the cot with bags of ice, and then they'd go see the physical therapist who would deal with the cramping. Because when you put ice on someone's crotch and under their armpits because they're in a bad way, once they come to, they and feel better, they start cramping.
Yeah. That race, honestly, and you're so right about trail running and mountain racing are totally different. That race, when I started feeling the cramps, and I felt those cramps when I've done marathons before, the quiver. And it's coming on.
Yep.
And if you experience that a few times, okay, I have to back off. I got that on halfway up the first climb, and I was I got to go up another probably 1,800 feet and then go down. And it's the most nerve-wracking feeling in the world. So having water up there would be huge.
Yeah, so hopefully, we can get enough up there. It's not going to be a ton because you can't possibly bring enough water for 250 people, but if somebody's in a really bad way, at least there's something.
Yeah, exactly. So anything else? So we've got Stomp DJing. We've got 4 spots left on Chikura, and then it's going to be a wait list. And then are you looking for volunteers, or do you have enough?
I'll take as many as I can get. One of the cool things we do for volunteers at our races is they earn race credits. So they earn $10 an hour for every hour they volunteer that they can put towards one of our races. So a lot of people will actually volunteer so they can earn enough race credits to race for free.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a fun race. And again, we're going to link all this in the show notes, and we'll put it on our Facebook and Instagram pages as well. Okay. So the next race, and these are not done in order of how you run them. They're just, I think, how the order of your website is. But the Kilkenny Ridge race, which I haven't done this race, but I've hiked the Kilkenny Ridge all the way out to from the beginning out to Rogers Ledge. So this is an ultra race where you've got 2 options. You can do a one-way from Womback or whatever the beginning of the Star King Trail to Rogers Ledge, and then you go out to South Pond, and then you're done. Or you can actually turn around and come back to through the weeks and out to Star King. And what's the distance on both of those courses?
So the 25 miler actually starts at Womback Country Club and they finish at South Pond, and we bus the runners over there in the morning. The 50 mile starts at South Pond and finishes at South Pond. So 25 and 50 mile those are the 2 distances.
Okay. And then logistically, I mean, there's plenty of spots to get water on there. Do you have the runners get their own water if they need it?
We suggest they bring a filter with them, but we have some wicked enthusiastic volunteers that somehow we always manage to find at the last minute. They camp on the ridge, which is a pretty fun volunteer position for anyone that likes to hike, and we haul up backpacks full of food and water filters. So there's 2 key locations. Unknown Pond obviously has a lot of water, so we station people there. And then there's when you come off the weeks, there's a little area that we put the other aid station, and they'll hang out there. So there's food, there's water, and if there's a medical emergency, we've got first aid kits and cots and tents, and fortunately we have, we've had ham radio operators there. With COVID, it's been hard to find people, but we do have cell service, so that's how we're communicating right now, is via text.
Yeah, and there's enough cell coverage on that. I've been out there enough times to know. It gets a little sketchy down in like the Weeks and Willard Notch and whatnot. But and is it 250 runners for that race as well?
Yep, 250 runners. That's pretty standard for anything that's in the White Mountains.
Got it. And then you must have that's Chikura is easier to control because it's not. You can get enough volunteers to cover everything, so you can be within like a couple 100 feet of somebody having a problem. But you couldn't do that with Kilkenny Ridge. Like you have to probably have people checking runners that come through in longer distances, right?
Yeah, so my partner Rem and I, we will. So kind of what we do is we have two different vehicles, and we can kind of like travel back and forth as needed. And we have where were we going with this? I just
checking runners,
just making sure that nobody dies on the course.
Oh, so nobody dies. Yeah, so we have runner check-in. So people, we'll send a text, this many runners started. And when we get drops, we get a text from the aid station, runner number, so-and-so, doesn't want to continue, or they don't look good. So we'll have queues so that the people at the next aid station know that they're waiting for somebody that doesn't look good, and maybe they should talk them into stopping. Or if we haven't seen somebody in a long time, it's time to send somebody out on the course looking for people, which is, something we had to do once. Somebody took a wrong trail, was hypothermic, decided to start getting naked on the trail, get a phone call from a runner. Somebody's taking their clothes off going down the trail.
Wow.
And we had to send somebody up the trail to go find this guy, and took him back and dealt with the medical emergency. But, these things happen, and knowing the trails, knowing how to get on the ridge as quick as you can and locate people helps. And we do have chip timing this year, which is, pretty helpful. Kind of tough on the Kilkenny one because you're not going to have chip timing on the ridge. We're still going to have the old-fashioned volunteers check people in that way.
Yep. Awesome. And that race is in late September?
It is, yep.
And I'm assuming there's still plenty of spots for that? Or
yeah, that one, there's plenty of spots for that one. That one has not sold out yet.
Okay. Great.
Hopefully someday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a crazy race. So we had Dave Dillon on a couple of weeks ago, and he had done that race, and he had done, I think, the out and back. So it's pretty crazy. But
yeah.
And then the next one, so the Chikura and Kilkenny, you've had those established before when you started, and then the next one, White Lake Ultra, which I think was an add-on race, but you've done that a few times now, right?
Yeah, and that one's it's a 3-mile. Pretty straightforward flat loop around White Lake. The first half is wicked easy. The second half has some things you can trip on, but nothing terrible. And what's really fun about this race is it's 6, 12, 24 hours, but we have a party on the beach with a DJ who brought like pyrotechnics this year. We have tiki torches, a bonfire. So as the runners make their way around the lake, it's cool for everyone at the lake to see the headlamps going around the lake, but it's also cool for the runners to see the light show, the tiki torches, and to not feel so remote. Like it's one of those races where there's a lot of camaraderie and a community, and people are just cheering each other on. Come on, you've got this, one more lap. And I think the best finish this year was this guy had 31 minutes to finish his last lap. He's in the 12-hour race. People cross the finish line at 6:45 in the morning. They're drinking their finished margaritas because they get margarita glasses with a margarita. And this guy had 31 minutes to do this 3-mile loop. Well, 4 minutes to go, we're screaming, "You got 4 minutes wherever you are!" And he's tearing around the corner. 10 seconds before his lap didn't count, he crossed the finish line. And everybody was just freaking out. It was like the most epic finish ever.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's a nice area there. I think that's where, so I do Reach the Beach Relay every year. I think that's where we always hang out we're not on that, like, we do the Van 1, but we hang out there and, like, have lunch or whatever, so.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful area there. So, and then the next race here is a new race. So Race the Cog. So I read about this. So do you want to explain a little bit about how this one's going to work?
Yeah, so the runners have an opportunity to run along the tracks all the way to the summit of Mount Washington, and it's all on private property. It does cross the AT on private property, and then we have permits to take the runners to the summit of Mount Washington alongside the tracks. And logistically, this is a real tricky one because, working with the Presbys has been so much fun. They're actually really fun people, and, we're bringing in Red Bull, and we're just trying. So far there aren't that many people signed up, but we're hoping that someday this race grows, and they have spectator trains that are going to go off, so people can hop on a spectator train, purchase a ticket, and see their friends and family and cheer them on and have cowbells. And so it's a really special and unique race because you're racing a piece of history going up Mount Washington. You can have your friends and family in real time watching you race, and that never happens in a race. You're on Mount Washington, which is unreal. The course climbs over 1,100 feet a mile, and we were hoping to have a big expo at the end of the race, but we just don't have the following, and it's a first-year race. It's an expensive race because there is a lot of swag. There is a cog ride, so it's not like this, $20 5K race. It's a big production, and it's a lot of work to put on, but it's going to be epic, and we can't really do the steamer train because we're worried about embers burning people.
Yeah.
And the cog people said they're going to have the tracks cleaned up alongside of it, so hopefully all that mess and junk will be gone by the time of the race too. So it's going to make the mountain look a lot better.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things I remember reading, and I was excited about that because I do know there's a fair amount of debris on there. Now, with the race entry, the racers are going to be able to take the cog back down?
Yeah, and which is cool because then they can ride down with their family. A lot of people that signed up are bringing their families, and I'm a mountain runner, and a lot of these people are, and you're typically not going to take the cog. You're not. You're going to run the mountain. Why would you take a vehicle? Why would you take the cog to the summit? So I think it's a really cool opportunity to travel up or down the mountain in a different way than you normally would, because I think a lot of these people wouldn't do a cog ride, and now they have a chance to.
Yeah, no, it sounds like an awesome race. And what's the date of this race?
That's June 25th.
June 25th. All right, so you have a busy June then.
Very busy June.
And then, we'll put a link in that. And then I think anybody that's run like the Mount Washington Auto Road, like you should definitely think about doing this. It's an interesting new way to run up the mountain. And I've hiked along the cog, and I always park in the winter at the cog railroad. And I know that it's controversial. Some people don't like the cog, but I've always been a fan. Like, I think that they've always treated people well, and I love going in there before a hike and staying warm and getting all my clothes on. And I love the whole area there.
Yeah, like they're controversial in the hiking community, but they're really nice people. Like that's all I can say about them. They're fun, they're genuine, and they are nice people. And I've had nothing but positive experiences. And we are making a donation to the Mount Washington Observatory and another one to the AMC for that race. Awesome. Each of our races, we make donations to various organizations.
Awesome. Yes, that's great. And then the next one here, Jigger Johnson. So, Stomp, have you looked at this course?
I have not had a chance, no.
Insane. Kristina, do you want to attempt to describe this course?
Attempt.
Yeah, it's a race. Yeah, just like people are going to attempt to finish. I'm actually hoping to run the thing in the entirety in a few weeks. We'll see once the snow's gone. So you start on South Moat and cruise across the moats, and then you drop down and eventually going to make your way over Tremont and Attitash and all that stuff. Then you're going to have 6 miles of pavement when you come through Bartlett, but you're going to appreciate that because after you get off the pavement, if you're doing the 100K, you're going up and back, out and back on Kerrigan. If you're doing the 50 miler, you're going through Hancock Notch, which is always an experience. Wow. And then the best part of this race is you've got like less than 14 miles to go, and is there 7,000 feet of climbing? You finish the race by going over both the Osceolas, and then we send you up and down Tecumseh twice, and you finish in Waterville Valley.
That's my neighborhood. I'll have to check it out.
There's 21,000 feet of climbing in the 100K, and there's about 17,000 feet of climbing in the 50 miler, and it's technical.
Wow.
It's insane. How does this compare to like some of the, and again, I don't know, I haven't paid as much attention to this as I probably should, but there's certainly like certain races that have a reputation for being like the most difficult because of distance and elevation. How does this compare to some of the biggest events out there?
This is definitely the hardest 100K in the country, possibly the hardest in the world. Between the technical terrain that we have here in the White Mountains, the elevation, and I mean, my goodness, I'm sure you've been up the chimney on the Osceolas, and Kerrigan's no joke. You know, the moats are no joke. Tremont, I mean, there's some serious rugged terrain that you're going through and over. And, you know, again, safety with this particular race is huge. You know, we're making a donation to Fishing Game with this race because hopefully we don't have to utilize their services. But this is a monster production, and there's a lot that's going to go into it to make the runners safe, and very strict cutoff times for obvious reasons. We can't have people that are totally annihilated out on the trail wandering around and getting lost, or even worse, getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have like, is this attracting like any big name ultra runners or mountain runners?
No, there's only a handful of people signed up so far. So fingers crossed we get a few more. There's a lot of interest, but a lot of people are emailing me because they're worried about the terrain. They're worried about the cutoffs, you know, so it's just like we have to vet every single person that signs up for the race to make sure that they are capable. And that was a request of the Forest Service, was they don't want somebody who's never come to the White Mountains and run before thinking they can just go blast this out in 10 hours. This won't be a 10-hour race.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting. So I'll be curious. And when's the date on this event?
That one's August 27th.
August 27th. All right. So it will start getting a little bit cooler by that point. So I'll keep an eye on this one. I definitely want to get out on the course. I won't be running this event, but I would definitely want to get out on the course and see, you know, I think being up on top of North Moat that day might be a good place to be to check it out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Crazy. And then I'm assuming you've got plans for some future races as well, but this is what you got lined up this year.
Yeah, so we've got 2 that we've played around with on the maps, and Rockhopper is going through over the next month. We're going through some like major changes, super secret stuff right now, but we have a couple more races on deck that we're hoping to have on the docket for next year. We're going to be offering, you know, I think I saw on your thing, we're going to be doing the shuttle service for Percy traverses to start. We're doing guided mountain running tours now. Some of them are overnight, some are single day. We're doing private, custom, and offering coaching. So we're expanding into kind of everything running in the White Mountains.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, I noticed the shift in your Instagram over the last several weeks, and it's been really cool to see, you know, branching out into those different areas. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Stomp, does this get you motivated to get back into running?
I really do want to try it again, but I have to be super careful. With my hip, so yeah. I don't know. One of these days I'll bird walk one of these races. Real gentle. Bloop, 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 bloop.
So here's the deal with the Jigger race, which is a riot. A solid hiker will absolutely rock this course, because if you go into it with the totally like, I'm going to grind this out and run it mindset, you're going to really struggle. But somebody that can just like hang on to that super solid, like steady 2.5-3 mile an hour hiking pace, they're going to actually do really well.
Interesting. Huh. What's the time limit on it?
26 hours.
26 hours.
62 miles, roughly? Is that what it works out to be?
Yeah, so one's 50. Yeah, so there's a 50 miler and then there's the 62 miler. So obviously the 50 milers have a little bit more leeway than the 100K.
Yeah.
In the longer race, are they going to Kerrigan, or are they going past that and going right through Hancock Notch?
The 100Ks do Kerrigan out and back. The 50 mile do not do Kerrigan.
Okay. All right. I would, where I would crack is like at the beginning, once you hit Greeley Pond and you got to go up Osceola after having, that would be where I would crack.
Oh my God.
That would be, I'd be done. Like I could probably hang on up until then, but that would be, I would tap out at Osceola's.
Well, it's like somebody who's never seen the chimney before might get to the chimney and be like, what is this? And why is this in this race?
Exactly. Crazy. So, so you already talked about, so you're going to be doing some shuttle services and running clinics and things like that. So we should just keep an eye on your website and your Instagram and social media to see what's available for new offerings. Yeah,
so we have actually June 11th, it's almost sold out. We have a guided Prezi Traverse tour that we're doing, and we have a ladies only Prezi Traverse tour on June 6th, and we're starting to add more running tours to the schedule and feeling out like which routes are the ones that most people want to do. And if we don't offer something, we can create a custom, whatever they want to do, custom adventure, but definitely geared towards trail running, where we take care of all the logistics, the pacing, and all you do is show up and run and have fun. And we have there's 4 of us guiding, and all the guides are like amazing. And something really cool we're offering in July is the Mountain Mindfulness Retreat, where we're going to have yoga, meditation. We'll cook all your meals for you. We're camping in the Great Gulf Wilderness, and then we do trail running every day. So it's going to be a very holistic experience where you get to enjoy trail running, experience the Great Gulf, but also keep you grounded and do the meditation and the yoga. So hopefully you leave feeling really good about life.
Awesome. I can see you guys just like setting up on the rocks along the Peabody River and the Gulf, and like,
yes.
So much zen right there. So
yes.
I would be fidgeting the whole time. I'd be horrible at it, but like it's that's good. But I do have a request for you guys. I have an idea and I have an opinion. So I think that Rockhopper should bring back the Wildman Biathlon. Have you heard of that race before?
I heard that thing is amazing, and I am not opposed to that, and I love the name of it. I mean, who doesn't love something called the Wireman? Yeah, the Wildman Biathlon. I don't think I don't think they do it anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have it, but it's like a it's a 10K. Then it starts in Shelburne, like down by Gorham, and then 22-mile ride up 16 to Wildcat, and then a hike up Polecat. So it was one of my first, when I started getting into triathlons, I did that first because I couldn't swim, and I was like, all right, I like this, so I started swimming. So, but I definitely recommend you guys looking at bringing something like that back. That would be cool. But other running around the area, so definitely you want to partner with Rockhopper and anything you're doing, but there is a lot of other activity that goes on. So I was, the Mount Washington Road Race and the Mountain Goat Series. There's the White Mountain Milers that does like some, Whitaker Woods trail running, and we talked about Reach the Beach. Is there any other running stuff in the area? Like I feel like New Hampshire in that area has a ton of running options for people, right? Well, there does. There's the Kismet Cliff Run. There's the Milers actually do a half marathon. There's oh man, what was I just going to say? Oh, we have the Mount Washington Valley Running Club, which we started last fall, and our motto is "Leave no runner behind." We're trying to create a community, and this girl Nicole Handel kind of came up with the idea, and it's been amazing. So we have a Facebook group. Wednesday nights we meet in Freiburg on that rec path, and we don't drop people. Like we wait for everybody, so that if you're just starting out, you're intimidated, you want people to run with, go on the Facebook page and check out the different runs that happen during the week. It's a great place to make friends. We've met a lot of really awesome people and really cool dogs, so I highly recommend creating some friendships with people in the valley that enjoy running in a non-intimidating environment.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's so much. I mean, running is given me so much as far as health, and like for me, I think I probably would be spending thousands of dollars on therapy if I didn't have my morning runs. So
yeah,
whatever it takes to get you through life, I guess. But running for me has been huge. So
yeah. Oh, and there's like one more race. There's the Cranmore hill climb too.
Oh yeah, epic.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So great.
Not the Cranmore Hill Climb like that. The problem with the Cranmore Hill Climb is that it's not just a hill climb, it's the lunatics going downhill. That
well, it's up and down and up.
Yeah, and that's like I get so afraid of going down. Like I can go uphill and I find my gear and I'm good and I'm fine. But a lot of times when I was more competitive, like I would be pretty far up front on the hill climbing, but I would be so afraid going downhill. And these lunatics, just like there's certain people that have it in their head, like they have no fear whatsoever. And I don't know what it is, but like they just fly down the hill, and I could never be like that. So what did we miss, Stomp? Anything else?
No, not really. I mean, this is fantastic. It's so great to see this culture coming to the East. So thank you, Kristina. This is really cool, and I'm sure it's only going to grow and blossom even further. So it's super cool.
Hope so.
Yeah. Are you doing any...
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Are you doing any like national advertising, or are you avoiding that because of the restrictions that the agencies have put on you to make sure that people are ready for these races, or how does that all work?
Like I said, Rockhopper is about to make like a huge change. Yeah. So we have like new websites coming out, and we're revamping everything. And, so we're kind of like in this space where we're waiting to kind of ultimately redirect where we're going. We're still going to be the same old party. We're still going to be super serious, but we're going to grow up a little bit and mature as a company so that we can provide some pretty awesome things to people in the White Mountains.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's awesome.
I hate being elusive, but I can't really share anything.
No, that's fine.
So follow us to, see the big announcement when it happens.
Yeah. And it may be better to be just cautious, because the last thing you want to do is have like 300 people that haven't been in the whites show up and be like, we're going to rip this trail, and just get themselves in trouble.
Do you notice a percentage of people coming from some of the other big races like the Mount Washington Road Race or anything like that? Some of the top seed people or anything like that?
Yeah, so there were, I don't have any, there's 3 people in the elite division for the COG race this year, and a lot of the big time West Coast runners, they already have all their race season booked for the year. I did invite a few people to come do Jigger, but they're booked out a year in advance. And it's a first year race. I mean, that's Dave, you were, you were at, like Dave was there, and you guys, there were a few of you at that first Chikura, and a first year race is clunky.
Sure.
It's terrifying. It's clunky. So it's kind of nice to not have that many people, but as they grow, then you can grow with the race, and it's not as scary.
Awesome. Yeah, no, this was fun, and I'm excited to hike tomorrow and then do my half marathon, and then I'm going to take a look at Chikura. I'll probably help Stomp spin music, but I might take a look at that COG race and do that. So let's see. I can huff some water up Chikura.
There you go.
That's like, best volunteer job ever. Hey, can you carry some water?
Yeah.
But I guess there could be worse volunteer jobs at a race than,
Exactly. All right. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, keep your head positive when you run your half marathon. It's all about the fun.
I need to find a costume now and some fireball shots.
Oh, costumes. I've got 5 boxes of costumes. It's pretty bad.
I bet. Every year, so we do the Reach the Beach, and we always have to figure out a theme. So one year we did like Bob Ross, like the happy little trees.
Oh my God, no.
So we have to figure out a theme this year. So, but some years I've had costumes, but I'm never doing that tutu thing that I see these poor guys that do Reach the Beach, and you can tell they've never done a race before because they're in their tutus, and I'm like, anybody that's in a race knows you don't get in the tutu because that's just stereotype. So.
We had a couple run in a Viking costume at White Lake. It was phenomenal. And then, this was great. I have a big T-Rex, the blow-up thing. So I was hiding in the woods with the photographer, and I'm jumping out at the runners and scaring the hell out of them. And they were all like jumping and screaming. So we got some good pictures of screaming runners.
So funny. I'll never forget, like, the costume stuff is so funny. I did the Boston Marathon in 2013, and I'll never forget, like, getting passed by this kid that was dressed up like a hot dog. And I'm like, you're in a hot dog.
Like, is that demoralizing?
I'm like, I'm pretty fast, and like, you're passing me in a hot dog outfit. Like, what the heck is going on here?
Oh, that air drag.
I got passed by a Christmas tree once. Like, what the heck?
That's funny. That's funny. So, all right. Well, Kristina, thank you so much. And we're going to do a couple of search and rescue news stories here. So hop in if you have any ideas. But so, Stomp, where do you want to start? I think we've got a list here, but we're not going to do all of them.
Let's go for the big enchilada at the end, because it's hilarious.
Why doesn't everybody take wilderness first aid classes?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Actually, that's a good point. Is I didn't hit that. So you guys do a partnership sponsorship for wilderness first aid, right?
We do with Solo and Redline. We are huge, huge advocates of safety. And the more people that get out there and take this wicked fun 2-day class, I don't care if you take it through Rockhopper or anyone else that offers it, make sure it's a solo class. You're going to learn how to make a sling out of a jacket. You're going to learn how to survive in the woods. You're going to learn how to save somebody's life, whether it be your own, your friends, or a stranger's. It's like, let's take the burden off of fishing games so that, you can learn about mountain safety, what to carry in your pack, and possibly be able to help get somebody off the trail so that fishing game isn't inundated with endless calls like they have been.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
super cool.
I'm passionate about this.
Well, the thing too is if you do the solo class, and you have BB as your teacher, you're probably going to go on a rescue mission anyway, right, Stomp?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I actually saw BB on a Zoom call earlier today, and he made the point of saying that he's going to have a whole bunch of students that are ready, willing, and there was one other adjective in there.
All right. So we'll do a very short search and rescue segment. So there's nothing. We had like 4 search and rescue calls last week in the Whites, I think, that we covered. But this week we don't have any. So good job, hiking community, for not getting in trouble.
Yep.
So this search and rescue news takes us to Oregon. So this is a great headline. Stranded hiker in flip-flops sends smoke signal from steep Oregon cliff. So shame for him wearing flip-flops, but I feel like he redeemed himself by doing the smoke signal. So I feel like this is sort of a neutral one.
Yeah, props.
This guy, he's hiking wearing flip-flop sandals, and he's carrying a dead cell phone, but he was able to build a fire to stay warm for the night, and it saved his life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, and there's a picture that I'll put this in the show notes, but this guy looks like a guy that would be hiking in flip-flops. So 51-year-old hiker left his home on May 1st to go for a hike in an unfamiliar trail, and after a few hours, he lost the trail and became disoriented. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office said. So he began working his way down the hillside until he could go no further to sheer cliffs. And he just had the flip-flops on, and his cell phone battery died, so there was no way for him to contact anybody. But he was able to make a fire for the night and shelter in place, and then he was able to get his fire, the smoke spotted by a worker at the Bonneville Dam, and then they were able to sort of confirm the smoke, and then the sheriff's office went and activated a search and rescue operation. So good for him. Even though he was wearing flip-flops, he was able to do smoke signals. So
amazing.
So you can redeem yourself. So
yeah, I saw the headline. I'm like, that is just perfect.
yeah, exactly. And then I think the only other one I have here, Stomp, and then we'll wrap it up, is there was and this isn't search and rescue related, but there was a big bust in Vermont and New Hampshire for illegal poaching. So 6 people are facing a bunch of criminal charges after a multi-agency investigation tied them to a significant poaching operation. So they were killing deer off season, and it was like, I think, hundreds of deer that were being killed here. So
that's outrageous.
we always talk about Fish and Game in terms of like saving people from like SUV crashes and hiking and snowmobile, but like there's a whole operation that they do around fishing and hunting, and this was a big bust. So it was 6 people from Vermont.
That's amazing. Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. Wonder how they
Crazy.
got them. I'm always fascinated by that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like on Northwoods Law, they've grabbed a couple of these poachers. They definitely get tips from people, and then I think that they also use game cameras, and then I think they mostly will rely on tips from people.
They were all 20-year-olders too. Interesting.
Mid-20s, they're probably. I don't know what goes through people's heads. I was definitely not the brightest bulb when I was that age either, but still, they're going to pay a stiff price.
Well, yeah, no kidding. $1,800, $1,200, restitution $500. That's a big chunk of change for a 20-year-older. Wow. Interesting.
All right.
Well, Kristina, you made it to the end.
Yeah. Can you hear us now? Christine, I think, had a little audio problem.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Well, Kristina, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you soon, I guess.
Can you hear us?
She looks so lost.
Well, she said that our audio is coming through.
Oh, like that. Okay. Well,
I think it's getting like pixelated or something.
Interesting. Okay. Huh. Oh, well.
Any better now? Oh, no. Okay.
I am dying. Well, this is a first, but it's probably a good place to stop anyway. It's probably no big deal.
I know. We sound like demons. So.
Oh, Kristina's acting out a terrible monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We might have to.
So my internet's good. Hold on. I'm going to stop the recording.
Too funny.
Now, did that change anything? No.
Oh, no big deal.
So, Stomp, you're going to have to figure out how to end the show.
I think we should just end it the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I think it was good.
Okay. Can you type in and say, thank you so much, and we will see you soon?
I think we are all set.
We love technology here at SLASR.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at slasrpodcast.com. That's SLASR podcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words that describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hill!
Here's Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.